UFC 311 takes place this weekend, and in this video, I have my boy Stap here for this week's version of Best Bets. First time in Finn's Chat's MMA history, we have a guest on board, and the only reason I brought a guest on board is because lately my bets have been kind of mid, and I had to scout, I had to look for someone that actually is profitable, actually makes money on the sport of MMA, and that brought me to none other than my guy Stap. So Stap, before we get into these bets, is there anything you'd like to say to the Finns family to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I bet on MMA. I have a bet MMA. It will be linked. Yeah, I'm not selling anything. It's all public. If you find something I talk about interesting, you can check it out. I particularly like to bet decision props. I have a pretty good sample size, and I think I have over 100% RI on just decision props. And yeah, I'll be talking about one decision on this episode, and maybe it will cash and be another interesting value play. So we'll see.
All right, sounds good. Let's get into the bets. First fight on the card is Tagir Ulanbekov taking on Clayton Carpenter, and I know that both I and Stap have a bet on this card, and I'm going to let Stap take it from there. Stap, what do you like on this fight?
Yeah, of course, I'm betting Carpenter, and I'm also betting his sub. The sub is more for value play because it's plus 2,500. I think it's a crazy number, but talking more about the money line, I like Carpenter because I think everywhere in this fight it's gonna be pretty close. Every time Tagir, he has these price tags historically like minus 500 against Bruno Silva. It was like a 50-50 fight, 29-28, some scored for Silva. And Alan Nascimento fight, similar. He lost the Tim Elliott fight, even if Tim Elliott was cheating. I think Carpenter is really good. If you look at his UFC.com profile, the Q&A, you can see he has grappling achievements, boxing achievements, Muay Thai. I think he's a really solid fighter. I think it will be a close fight. And I also think that Tagir has real hard weight cuts, seems to be getting injured. He's 33 and a half now, and Carpenter is 28. So there's some career aspects of it. I think this is the biggest moment of Carpenter's career, and Tagir doesn't really seem to have any serious career prospects at this point. So I think it makes a lot of sense to bet on Carpenter here. And the skills will be evenly matched, and I think there will be a lot of grappling and striking. I think Carpenter can win everywhere, and Tagir will win everywhere. Really close fight, so I'm betting the plus 250 DAWG, and I managed to even get plus 285 on one book, so you can get around plus 280 still if you have the right books. So a very interesting bet to me.
All right, sounds good. Clayton Carpenter seems to be the sharp play here. I as well am on Clayton Carpenter. I'll go over my quick summary. Stop kind of, talked a lot about Clayton Carpenter there, but for me, honestly, I see Tagir Ulanbekov, aging fighter with a history of injuries, and most of his recent fights is either a pull-out from a weight issue, pull-out from an injury, and honestly, at this point, the career trajectories is really why I'm betting Clayton Carpenter. He's on the rise. He's the prospect. Tagir Ulanbekov, a lot of people I feel like are steaming him because, he's a Russian on the Russian card, so not really buying that perspective. I think the value is on Clayton Carpenter, as does Stap. So, first bet of the card, Clayton Carpenter, you can get him around plus 250 on most books. Next fight on the card that we're looking at from a betting perspective is Zachary Reese taking on Azamat Bikoyev. So, I let Stap speak first last time. I'll go ahead and give my spiel here. Honestly, Zachary Reese as an underdog in this fight is asinine. It should be illegal. There shouldn't be a book that's giving that away at the moment. Zachary Reese is a wagon. He is the only reason people are not picking him is because he has a fluke loss to Cody Brundage. People think he's chinny because he has like tall man defense and because Cody Brundage got a KO on him. Well, two things. Number one, no one's been able to clip him quite cleanly yet on the feet. And number two, Cody Brundage KO'd him from a slam. Now, in this fight specifically, I just glazed Zachary Reese. But if we're talking about the matchup, Bikoyev, he does have some KO power in his hands, but he hasn't really KO'd anyone of note. On the regional scene, he does chase takedowns, and he has decent-ish cardio. But while he's in guard most of the time, the guy on the bottom finds some kind of sneaky submission. But the thing is, he hasn't gotten subbed yet because those guys aren't as high level as a jiu-jitsu practitioner as Zachary Reese. So for all those reasons, I think if Bikoyev tries to bring it to the ground, he's going to get subbed. I think if Bikoyev tries to keep it standing, he's going to get knocked out. And honestly, I think just everything... And also the fact that Reese was in camp for SD Dumas, who has a similar archetype to Bikoyev, and the fact that he probably had a wrestling-heavy camp, and now he's going to go up against a guy that's going to try to probably take him down for 3 rounds. So Zachary Reese is the play for me. I got a 10-unit max smash on Zachary Reese. It's the most that Bet MMA allows me to put on a single fight. So that's what I did. 10 units on Zachary Reese for me. Stop. You got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with what you say. I'm betting Reese as well. I think Reese can really. I don't even expect him to play guard if he has to. I think he will really try to get up at all costs, and that will be through guard partially, maybe hunting submission. Because I saw in the Medina fight, he can wrestle, even in the third round, he was getting takedowns, he can push hard. I think he said in that fight he had like stomach flu and something, and the cardio held up decently. I think he has a lot of metric advantages. He's really tall, really physical, while Bekoev is more of a stocky guy. Bekoev doesn't seem all that good. He has a good single leg. He can hold people on the ground. But even in the fight with Lucas Fernando, it was a 48-47 on one card because he doesn't do any damage on the ground. And if you're just throwing up subs, you're hurting him on the feet, you can win a decision as well, even if he has a lot of control. I feel like Reese can really win everywhere. I don't think Bekoev is the best guy at winning minutes and things of that nature. So I'm going with Reese.
All right, sounds good. We're on the same page for yet again another fight, and let's get into the next one. Next fight in the card we're going to discuss very quickly is Jailton Almeida taking on Sergey Spivak. So now, in this fight, I do think that me and Stap have the same idea, where Jailton Almeida is just going to dominate the wrestling and either find a finish on the ground or grind out a greasy decision. But as far as betting for me, I don't have any bets because I missed the early lines, but Stap, let me know what you think about this fight from a betting perspective.
Yeah, it's simple. Almeida has the skill advantage. He has the physical advantages. I think his core is pretty good despite being a big roided Brazilian guy and things of that nature. I really think he can just take this fight to where he wants to, which is the ground and win from there. Spivak, he doesn't have any knockdowns in the UFC despite being a UFC heavyweight with many fights. It doesn't give him the best puncher chance either, which seems to be the way to beat Almeida. When he's doing a mistake, you can catch him on the feet or maybe something. Who knows? But either way, I won't talk too much about this fight because I bet him at minus 250. He's right now minus 400, minus 500, and that feels accurate. So, yeah.
All right, sounds good. I do want to correct you, though. Almeida does have knockouts, just not on the feet.
Yeah, ground and pound.
Yeah.
But I was talking on Spivak. Spivak doesn't have any knockdowns. I'm not even talking knockouts. He has knockouts on the ground, but there isn't a strong puncher chance on the feet. I would feel like.
All right, sounds good. So no puncher's chance from Spivak.
There is, of course, Almeida can stick his head out on a takedown, but that's just a one-off, kind of like Zach Reese being slammed. It's a one-off sort of thing.
All right, sounds good. Sounds like we're on the same page for this one. Next fight we're going to talk about from a betting perspective is Peyton Talbot taking on Raoni Barcelos. So now for me, I have no action on this fight. I simply think that Barcelos' chin, it might be dust. I was watching back some fights, and it seems like every exchange that's a striking exchange, he gets wobbled or rocked in some capacity. And Peyton Talbot has rocks for fists, and I honestly think that every exchange is going to result in Barcelos getting wobbled. So that's what I think here. I have nothing bet, but Stap pinpointed this to me and said, no, let's talk about it. So Stap, what are you betting on this fight?
Yeah, of course, just making it clear, I'm expecting Talbot to knock Barcelos out. But Barcelos point spread plus 3.5, it's plus 400 right now. And when you look at Talbot, he lost the round a year ago, November 2023, to Nick Aguirre by being out-grappled. It just has to happen 1/3 of the time to be long-term profitable. And I can see Barcelos, he's a gamer. You can watch his Umar and Magomedov fight. He was always walking forward trying to exploit Umar's weak boxing. I don't think Umar's boxing is weak anymore, but you can see he's always in a fight. Even the Kyler Phillips fight, it was a 29-28. One judge gave the 30-27, but it was complete nonsense 30-27. So if you look at it, I think Raoni Barcelos has a long-term value enough chance to take a round here, whether it be on some combination of the feet or the grappling, but I do expect him to lose. So, but this is a value play for me, but I do think it's solid. Barcelos is a good fighter. He beat Said Nurmagomedov, etc.
All right. Well, to be fair, in a fight where there's a guy that's minus 1,000, anything you bet that's not him is basically a value play. So there's that. And number two, I do agree with you. Barcelos does keep fights close, and he does happen, to win one round here or there in recent fights against higher level competition. So I can see it playing out where, he gets Peyton Talbot's back maybe in round one and maybe matriculates towards a decision loss. So for plus 3.5, for all you guys don't know, you only need to win one round in order for the bet to cash, but you also need to not get finished. So that's my problem with the bet.
And also with the plus 3.5, it's always that, like I said, with the Carlo Phillips fight, it was a clear 29-28 to go on MMA decisions. 99% of people had the third round, I believe, for Barcelos. But despite that, one judge gave it 30-27, so the plus 3.5 wouldn't even have cashed. So all you need is a judge, like one random scorecard, and it's over. But I guess it goes both ways, split decisions. So what can we say?
Yeah, I'm with you on that he only needs to win one round, and I think he can win a round. I just disagree that I think he's going to get finished. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to get knocked out, I think. But if you look at it, he's only been knocked out once, I think, and like dropped by Carl Phillips another time. But he does get like kind of hurts, but not knocked down. So I'm giving him enough. I'm only putting a quarter unit on it as a value play, so we'll see.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Let's talk about the next one. That brings us to the main card of UFC 311, and the first fight on the main card is Kevin Holland taking on Reinier de Ridder. Now, I will let Stap take it from here since I was the one who's been talking first for the last couple picks. Stap, what do you think about this fight from a betting perspective?
It's an interesting fight. Of course, you have a situation where the gap on the feet is going to be massive, at least skill-wise for Holland. I'm not really particularly picking a side here, but I'm betting a prop of one of the sides here. And the line is a pick'em, so I think it makes sense to bet it because of the value. And I'm betting Holland decision at plus 550. I think this is a really wide line because Holland has the ability to pick apart, move, big cage on the outside, throw kicks, everything of that nature, and just kind of cruise to a decision in some ways, even if it gets tough at certain moments. And plus 550, that's like lower than 20% probability. I think it's a pretty nonsensical line considering it's a pick'em. So for me, the money is on Holland's decision.
All right, sounds good. So we both have the same idea where Kevin Holland probably wins this fight. Stap bet the decision for value at plus 550. I went ahead and just straight up bet Kevin Holland at plus 100. I put a quick unit on that. I understand there is a scenario where de Ridder doesn't get knocked out and de Ridder has takedown success for 3 rounds. That is definitely a possibility. However, I think people are ignoring the fact that it's a bigger cage considering it's a pay-per-view card. It's not the Apex. De Ridder had more success in the Apex, obviously smaller cage, had success with takedowns against GM3. I just don't think that's going to happen here. There is a huge gamble every time you pick a Kevin Holland fight. You pick Kevin Holland to win because there's a chance that he doesn't really care. So
yeah, look, if Kevin Holland was a reliable guy, I'm betting his money line, but yeah, I'm just gonna have to bet the decision because of the value. It's a really wide line. But any other day, if it's like Kevin Holland but with real dedication, I'm betting his money line.
All right, sounds good. Sounds like we're on the same page there. Next fight we're going to discuss is Jiri Prochazka taking on Jamahal Hill. Now, in this one, I do believe that me and Stap actually differ. From a betting perspective, I myself have not hazarded any money on the fight yet. It is a scary fight. It is light heavyweight where anything is possible. And that's just my thoughts on the matter. I do lean Hill, but I'm going to let Stap take it from here. Stap, what do you think about this fight from, number one, a picking perspective, and number two, a betting perspective?
So we're at the fight where it's essentially a pick'em. Now Jiri is underdog, but I bet him at around the pick'em. So we kind of have to put the two together. We're picking the fight we're betting on here, and we're going to head to head on it. So it's interesting to see what you have to say. But essentially, I see that Jiri, he kind of does well against people who like to kick, doesn't have great defense. Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, continue.
Okay, yeah, great. Yeah, he fights, he loses round one against people who can kick and kind of can move, and then he'll catch them. And the thing about Jamahal, he doesn't have good footwork, he doesn't have good defense. I just see Jiri eventually catching him because Jamahal is really sloppy fundamentally, even if he can win a lot of matchups. So I think this is a favorable fight for Jiri, even if his chin potentially might be compromised.
Okay, that's a fair statement. Honestly, I mean, Jiri is a wild card, so I mean, picking him to win is not a bad idea, considering he can win by any means necessary, and we've seen that he's willing to like lay his life in the octagon to get a victory, especially against the Glover Teixeira. In that fight, he was getting rocked repeatedly and somehow scrounged up a round 5 submission. So Jiri definitely has that dog in him, and as a bettor, he is someone that you would like to place money on. But at the same time, what I think is I just think Jamahal Hill is more technical on the feet. His footwork isn't the crispest. But honestly, the only bad performance besides Paul Craig, which was a fluke, but the only bad performance we've seen of Jamahal was a short notice fight against Alex Pereira where he was coming off a huge injury, and the only reason he took it is because he got paid piles of money. So it's been a long time since then. I think people are starting to forget that Jamahal Hill actually might be him of the light heavyweight division. So that's what I think about the matter. But from betting, I just can't get there to put money on Jamahal Hill at favorite odds against Jiri Prochazka. So I think it's too wild to bet either side. Obviously, if you were to bet a side, betting the underdog is not a bad play. And I can understand why Stap bet Jiri for that reason. And then
yeah, and I also want to say that, of course, a bit that I forgot to mention is Jamahal is coming off another injury. This is a knee injury, and he seems always kind of fat. I don't think he's the best. He's probably a good athlete, talent-wise, but he doesn't seem to take care of himself best. When you're kind of out of shape, injuries happen easier. He's turning 34, not too far from now. I think it's May. Years he's 32, more serious athlete. There's a projection of the career here to some extent.
All right, sounds good. On to the next fight. That brings us to the co-main event of UFC 311. It is Umar Nurmagomedov taking on Merab Dvalishvili for the bantamweight strap. This is a fight that's been talked about for a long time now, and it's also been, talked about where Umar is finally getting his championship opportunity on the same card as Islam defending. So for this fight, you obviously already see my pick. From a betting perspective, I do have a small unit play on this fight, but before I tell you what I have bet, I'm going to let Stap take it from here. Stap, what do you think about the co-main event of UFC 311 from a betting perspective?
Yeah, I think this is a good matchup for Umar. He can keep it on the feet and just win. Same way O'Malley could win on the feet, but he doesn't have the cardio, he doesn't have the physicality to stop Merab's takedowns, and he still made it 48-47 on 2 scorecards. And I think really, to be frank, I think Umar is on the same PEDs, steroids, everything of that nature as Merab, and he's bigger. He's like 3 inches tall. He's really big for bantamweight. Once you realize he's 5'8", and his legs are not even small either. I was actually shocked by this because I seen he actually has pretty well-sized legs as well. So I think he has every tool to win this fight. And at -200, I played him straight. Right now, I think the line is probably about accurate. So I personally wouldn't bet him right now, but I think it's a very straightforward matchup for Umar, even if it's scary to doubt Merab, of course.
Okay, I agree with that. For me, I thought the number of -200 was a bit too wide for a fight that I think is going to hit the scorecards at a high clip. So I took the logic of Umar winning, and I took the logic of I think it's going to hit decision, and I just combined the two ideas, and I bet Umar Nurmagomedov to win by decision plus 100. I put a unit on that to win a unit. In hindsight, I'm starting to regret it a little bit because Umar might finish Merab. I mean, Merab has been pretty durable over the course of his recent UFC stretch, but watching back each of his fights, there's at least 1 or 2 moments in each one where he's at risk of losing. Like he gets clipped, he gets put into a bad spot, something happens where I'm like, oh man, Merab's about to lose. So in hindsight, I'm not a big fan of my bet that I have of Umar by decision. I think Umar can actually finish this fight, but I'm sticking to my guns. Umar by decision plus 100, got a unit on it. Stap seems to have a, what would you say, Stap? How many, what unit size would you recommend?
On your bet?
No,
or
on Umar money line. What did you have on it?
Yeah, I have 4 units at -200. That means to win 2 units. And I actually think your bet of plus 100 decision, it's pretty decent. I couldn't get my hands on one of the bookies I needed to be able to get like plus 150 or something. But I still think plus 100 is good because it seems, Merab has a lot of heart. He doesn't quit, even if he gets hurt. And Umar, he actually only has 1 KO, I believe. submission doesn't seem entirely likely. I think +100 is a decent bet at least.
Yeah, against he has the KO against your boy Barcelos, but
Yeah, and
yeah,
of course
yeah, but
he
anyway,
can't
yeah,
punch, but Merab has art. That's another thing.
yeah, that was ultimately why I bet by decision. I just like it might be because I like Merab, you know, that might have been what it came down to. I just don't want to see him get finished. So it sounds like we're on the same page. Stap seems pretty confident in Umar. He has more than one unit on him, so let's go into the main event of UFC 311. That brings us to the main event of UFC 311, a matchup that has been years in the making, ever since Arman had his first UFC fight. It is Arman Tsarukyan taking on Islam Makhachev for the lightweight strap. Now, in this fight, I don't know where to side, honestly. Islam hasn't faced like an insanely elite tier of competition at lightweight, I would say. Dustin Poirier, the fact that he was able to stand and trade with him kind of makes me think that Islam might have ascended to another level. Just watching him strike for 5 rounds with Poirier. Barely activated the wrestling until he really desperately needed to in the later rounds. And then against Oliveira, he knocks him down and does jiu-jitsu on Oliveira. So he's almost like Jones. He's doing the Jones method, which is do what your opponent does best against your opponent. He's doing jiu-jitsu against Oliveira. He's doing striking against Poirier. Now he's facing Arman Tsarukyan. I just don't see how he loses in this one. I mean, I guess there have been moments where in striking exchanges he does let himself be hit. But other than that, I guess Arman could be a hungry underdog. That could be a reason why Arman wins, because he's just hungrier. You know, Islam has been at the top for so long. But that's enough chatter out of me. From a betting perspective, I didn't actually bet either side. I simply bet over 3.5 rounds. I sniped that line on FanDuel. I put 3 units on that high confidence play. I think this hits the scorecards at a high clip because they're just both super talented. Enough yap out of me. Let's go to the profitable bet MMAer here. Stop. What do you think about the main event of UFC 311?
Yeah, I think it will be a close fight because, for instance, if you look at the point spread, it's essentially the point spread in 5 rounders. It means like for it to hit for Arman, it has to at least be a 48-47 on 2 scorecards or something like that. So it really does seem like it will be a close fight.
But let me stop you there. What is the current point spread set at?
Oh, it's like -120 or something. It's really
plus
close.
3.5?
In 5 rounders, it's a bit different. And I believe, according to my calculations, it's basically 2 48-47s and 1 49-46. And the Arman bet would have cashed.
Okay. So it's plus 5.5 then. Plus 5.5.
Yeah, exactly. Plus 5.5, I believe.
All right, so continue.
And I think it will be, I bet Arman at plus 350 because I do believe this will be a close fight. I think Arman is he's coming to win. You know, he's very prepared, he's very ready. You know, Islam has better boxing in my opinion, but I think Arman has very good, flexible, fast kicks. He's also the younger fighter. I just think it will be a close fight, but you know, we have seen many close fights where it feels like the guy losing will never win despite how close it will be. You know, like Aljo versus Movsar, for instance. It's just like one of those things. And I fear it will be one of these things, but at plus 350, I'm willing to look at the different skills and see the grappling is close, wrestling is close, and you have one guy with the kicking advantage and one guy with the boxing advantage in close fight. One guy's younger. I'm supporting Arman here.
All right, sounds good. We do disagree on the outcome of the fight, but we do agree that it is going to be very close.
I believe Islam will win, but it will be like tight margins. The line is wide, more so. At the end of the day, no one can know who wins the fight. Little things can change it, and when it's this close, I feel like it makes sense betting younger guy at plus 350.
All right, sounds good. Then you also mentioned, I like the comparison. You said that this fight is similar to Movsar versus Aljo. I can kind of see that. But if Islam was Movsar, you know, because like on paper, both guys are the same, right? But then like when it actually comes down to like winning the fight, like I can see Islam being the Movsar where it's like he just edges out like those minor exchanges. He just is a little bit better than Arman so that he sneaks out a decision. That's kind of what I see.
Yeah, but you also got to consider that the comparison comes to some extent. Some of these really, they don't lose these Caucasian fighters and things of that nature. They really fight for everything and try to keep undefeated. But Arman, he is that. He has an entire nation behind him. He's fighting in LA, a bunch of Armenians there. I think Arman is really like one of those personalities. So I think his mental strength is there to some extent, that he will just keep going. He doesn't care. He's gonna try to win. He's coming to win, and I really meant that. You can tell some fighters don't come to win. Like Raoni Barcelos, I'm not saying he's beating Talbot, but if you watch his fight, he's always coming to win. Like he was pressuring Umar, like he knew his chance was the pressure to try to get off the close in from the kicking range and get in the boxing range. There's some fight that he has come to win, and I think Arman is coming to win. So I like this.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And then that's gonna wrap up the betting. So thank you for watching up until this point. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Finn's Chats. I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you, Stap, for coming on board. Is there anything you'd like to say to the Finn's family before you depart us at this time?
Yeah, me and Fins, we share at least 2 bets on this card, I think, with Reese and Carpenter. I think it's a good card for betting. I think it's interesting to watch as well. It will be fun. We'll see what happens. You can check out my Bet MMA in this description. And yeah, everything will be there, free of charge, just if you're interested to learn something more.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Stop, for coming on. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, you savages. All right. Perfect.